On World Food Safety Day, a group of IDF experts in food safety will highlight the recommendations, tools, and practices in place in the dairy sector worldwide to ensure dairy products are safe. Milk is a nutritious and also a sensitive. It can be transformed in a wide variety of products, such as yogurt, cheese, butter, or milk powder. This for our pleasure, our convenience, but also as a way to preserve milk in a safe and nutritious manner. Like other food products, dairy foods are susceptible to food safety issues. These can be microbiological issues, such as the presence of foodborne pathogens like Listeria or Salmonella. These can be chemical issues, such as residues of cleaning compounds or residues of veterinary drugs, or physical contaminants, such as particles of metals or rubber seals, for instance. François, as chair of the IDF Standing Committee on Microbiological Hygiene, can you describe the measures in place to address those risks in the dairy sector?
Well, classically, prevention is always cheaper and, by the way, more efficient than the cure. So the engagement of the IDF in a preventive approach for the safety of the dairy sector starts with the implementation of good hygienic practices at the different point of the chain, from farm to fork. IDF is engaged in promoting good agricultural practices, good milking practices for the primary production, but as well good manufacturing and good hygienic practices for the transformation of full milk to milk products, in collaboration with international organizations and regional national agencies through its national committees. IDF is working since the earlier step with the Codex Alimentarius, participating to the work of the different committees as observer organization, and is strongly implicated in the support and writing of Code of Practice. As an example, through its delegation at the Codex Committee on Food Hygiene, IDF has been implicated in the recent revision of the Funding Code of Practice, General Principle of Food Hygiene, as well the guidelines for the establishment of microbiological criteria and the Code of Hygienic Practice for low moisture food, among many other documents of the Codex Alimentarius. IDF is on set of publications in the field of food safety, among other topics. As an example, recently on the history, rationale, and implementation of pasteurization as a heat treatment, on microorganisms and chemical contaminants of concern, from simple, easy-to-read fact sheets to more detailed bulletin, promoting best practices to our members, ensuring safe dairy production and the mitigation of microbiological, chemical, and physical contamination. IDF produces from straightforward fit-proof documents to scientific publication in peer-reviewed journal. We try to cover all the chain. The approach is based on the scientific evidence available and or generated in specific research projects and made accessible from the academic institutes to the farmers and the food workers. The different standing committees coordinate their respective actions to make sure that the dairy sector uses state-of-the-art approach and tools to ensure safe food production, to put the dairy sector in the best conditions to answer today's and tomorrow's challenge to provide the world growing population with a safe, sustainable, and nutritious food source, and not to mention delicious and tasty as well.
Thank you, François. Very good point. Nate, you are the chair of the IDF Standing Committee on Analytical Methods for Additives and Contaminants. Can you tell us a bit more what's a measure in place to verify the absence of contaminants in milk products, for instance?
Sure. So a good example is the medications used on the farm. So medications are used to treat cows with mastitis and other bacterial infections like bovine respiratory disease and digital dermatitis. These medications are used sparingly and are important to keep the animals healthy. As cows are treated with these medications, the residual antibiotics can be found in the milk during and just after treatment. The global dairy sector uses a combination of rapid methods and analytical confirmatory methods to ensure there's no residual antibiotics in the final dairy products. Most countries around the world have an active antibiotic surveillance program where the level of milk samples found to be positive for antibiotics has dropped significantly. So that's just one example. IDF and ISO are finalizing guidelines for the validation of qualitative screening methods for the detection of residues of veterinary drugs in milk and milk products. This new guidance will aid in the standardization of different antibiotic surveillance programs across many different countries. Another example is aflatoxin M1. So aflatoxin M1 is a carcinogenic metabolite found in milk formed after cows have consumed feed contaminated with naturally occurring toxins produced by molds. So different environmental conditions out there can produce these molds like aspergillus, which can form these mycotoxins like aflatoxin. The confirmatory method that IDF and ISO put together has been revised recently and will provide the global dairy sector a standard confirmatory method for the detection of aflatoxin M1 in milk and dairy products. Many dairy producers also choose to use a rapid method to detect aflatoxin M1. And recently, just recently, IDF and ISO began developing a new technical specification, which will standardize the validation of these rapid methods and aid existing aflatoxin M1 surveillance programs. These new standards and existing surveillance programs around the world provide safe food today for a healthy tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Nate, for those detailed explanation. Francois, can you tell us about specific dairy microorganisms?
In a nutshell, dairy products are essential part of the basic nutrition for human beings and one of the indispensable foods for consumers all over the world. It's not motivated only by milk as a food matrix. Fermentation plays a key role. Food cultures, or also called beneficial microorganisms, are a key component of the whole food chain for safe, stable, and nutritious food products. Building evidence and guidelines on their use, identification, and characterization is fundamental to make dairy microorganisms contribute to the production of dairy fermented products and to the health of consumers.
Thank you, Francois. And then Sue, you are the chair of the Standing Committee on Analytical Methods for Dairy Microorganisms. Can you tell us more about the standardization of the methods of analysis?
Yes. For the specific dairy microorganisms identification is really a new challenge for us. And we know that microbiological analysis method is important to ensure the quality and the safety of the dairy products. In order to satisfy the new demands of the dairy microbial detection, the IDF ISO has always been committing to the standardizations and the optimizations of the analysis method, including the traditional method and the new technologies method. For example, we are currently now undertaking the revision of the IDF and ISO standards for numeration of the bifidobacteriums and also the numerations of the characterized microorganisms in yogurt. And this method is based on the traditional method. As we know that the diversified and innovative products emerging in dairy sector has brought new challenge to the identification of the dairy microorganisms, especially strain-level identification of the probiotics and the specific detection of the target microorganisms and the microbial contaminants, as well as the enumeration of the living microorganisms. So we also focus on the application and the standardization of the new technology, such as the whole genome sequence and the metagenomic analysis and the string species-specific PCR and the flow cytometry and the MARS and the revised IDF, the bulletin on the identification of the probiotic at string level will be published officially soon. And this the guideline will be provide the reference on the identification at the string level for the accurate identification of the dairy microorganisms. Thank you, Arlie.
Thank you very much, Sue. Also, can you tell us what IDF is working on regarding the detection of pathogens in milk and milk products, please?
Yes, of course, the pathogens that are very important for the dairy products. For a long time, the IDF has been in close contact and cooperations with the ISO committee with the methods in food microbiology, and also including the Codex Alimentarius, the AOAC, and the other international organizations to promote the harmonization of the dairy microbiological standards at the global level. Thus, contributing to the health, safety, and sustainable development of the dairy products in the world. For harmonization, for example, ISO 6579 Part 1 2017 is the microbiology of the food chain, the horizontal method of the detection, numeration, and serotyping of the Salmonella. So Part 1 detection of the Salmonella species included the former IDF-ISO method specific to the dairy products. And the other example is now the ongoing joint projects relating to the numeration and detection method, including the revision for the dairy standards for numeration of the contaminating microorganisms in the butter, fermented milk, and fresh cheese into the standards that are applicable for all food. And the last example is that recently we are cooperating with the ISO TC34IC9 to extend the existing IDF-ISO standard of identities for the bacterial starter cultures into the horizontal standard, covering the additional food metrics. And this standard will provide very important reference and guidelines for the identification, the quality control, and the production management, and also including the global supervision authorities for starter cultures in use by dairy sector and beyond.
As a conclusion, World Food Safety Day is important to IDF as it is an opportunity to highlight what we're doing to ensure that dairy products are safe. IDF is a worldwide science-based organization that consists of experts who volunteer to give their time and share their knowledge and expertise to ensure that dairy products are safe, healthy, and produced in a sustainable manner. Within IDF, there are several groups that have various expertise working on safety, such as analytical experts in microbiology or chemistry who develop joint IDF-ISO standards, microbiologists who give guidance on specific foodborne pathogens or guidance in heat treatment systems, experts in chemical residues, and experts in animal health and welfare and farm management. All these groups publish their work in the form of fact sheets that are freely available from the IDF website or other publications such as bulletins, scientific publications, and IDF-ISO standards. You can visit the IDF website for further information and access to these publications. World Food Safety Day is also an opportunity to emphasize that consumption of safe food has immediate and long-term benefits. Safe food is the result of collaborations between those involved in animal health and welfare, growth, harvesting of plants, and those involved in food production. This collaborative work results in safe food today for a healthy tomorrow.